Coming up next, we have a special edition of the Ken Coleman Show with a very special guest joining me for the entire program. He is an Oscar-winning actor and a best-selling author, and it all starts now. Hey folks, coming to you live from Ramsey Solutions Studios in Nashville, and I'm super excited to introduce our special guest for this special edition of the Ken Coleman Show. My guest is Matthew McConaughey. Now, for those of you movie lovers, Matthew is an Academy Award-winning actor and now a New York Times best-selling author. His new book is called Green Lights, and it's already sold more than 1 million copies. A fantastic, fantastic story. So couldn't have him on live, so we did the next best thing, and we did it taped. So we had him in from his home in Austin, Texas, and we recorded the video of the interview, and it was a fantastic, fantastic conversation that is, again, geared towards encouraging you, as I do every day, on becoming who you were created to be. He's done that. And there's so much gold, so much encouragement for you in this conversation. So without any further ado, we're going to take you to my conversation with Oscar-winning, best-selling author Matthew McConaughey. Matthew, I enjoyed the book immensely. And one of the stories that cracked me up early in the book is the story of the poem contest. And, you know, your mom gives you this great, inspiration. Hey, does it, like it? It's a wonderful story. For those of you who need to read it, it's really, really funny. But I was curious when I read that. And when I hear you talk, whether it be on Instagram or, when you gave a speech at the Oscars, you just got this natural storytelling vibe about you. And obviously you're an actor, which is storytelling. But I'm just curious, was it around that time? Was it earlier that you begin to realize, if you look back, or did you realize as a youngster, and how young were you when you realized, I dig stories or poems or storytelling in general?
Probably around the dinner table, because I come from a family of storytellers, led by my dad, then my older brother, then my middle brother, then my mom. And then at the dinner table around the Lazy Susan, if you had something you were going to bring up, you better be good. You better hold everyone's attention, or someone's going to spin the Lazy Susan and interrupt you and take it. So you better be good at it. So I heard their stories. And then I think I really, in my late teens, when my two older brothers were out of the house, meaning now they were friends with my dad, meaning now they could go have a beer at the bar with my dad. I would hear those stories on Sunday. I'd hear the stories from Saturday night on Sunday. And I'd be around them when their friends would come over, and I'd hear the retelling of those stories. And I so wanted to be there one day, I just want to be there live in one of those stories. Because all I do is I keep hearing about them, and there's such great stories. And in my young mind and impressionable mind, maybe they were even more fantastic than they were. But they were already pretty damn fantastic. And so maybe, now that you asked the question, it was, you had to be a good storyteller to hold everyone's attention in the household, but also the yearning to want to, if I could just be 18, which was that seminal age in our family, to then go have the freedom to be with dad and my brothers and all their friends and actually be live witnessing part of the stories. That's where it came from.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, there's no question that you're surrounded by that and you have a knack for it. I mean, it's kind of a prose. I also want to ask you about childhood, adolescence, as it relates to sports. I love sports. I tried to play everything. Unfortunately, I'm 5'9" with average athletic ability, had huge heart. But I learned the greatest lessons from my life on the field of sport, or in the car on the way home. When I'm 7 years of age, I'm the runt, the littlest guy on the 7 and 9-year-old league. I can't get in. This was back in the day, Matthew, where you didn't get guaranteed playing time. Oh, yeah. This is in the 80s. And so, I'm the littlest guy. I wouldn't have put me in, I don't begrudge coach, but I was hurting. And my dad could tell if something was wrong. And he looks at me in the rearview mirror and he says, "What's going on, pal?" And it just opened up the floodgates. And I just start to sob. What's going on? And something to the effect, I chortled, "I just want to play, Dad." And he said to me, "Listen, you're the youngest and you're the littlest. Don't you quit. Stay with it. Your time will come. And 2 seasons later, I was a starter. I led that little league in scoring, made the travel team. At that point in my life was the biggest accomplishment that I could possibly ever imagine. And that lesson through my career, broadcasting career, stayed with me. Your time will come. I'm just curious. I know you're a great golfer. I know you kind of grew up with that athletic bent, and I know sports was around. Life lessons, or is there a lesson that sticks out to you, a moment, a story where sports really stuck something in you and it stayed with you?
Yeah, I mean, we could talk the whole show about this because sports, so much for sports about preparation for my own job.
Yeah.
I've learned some sports about whether it's an individual sport like golf where you're playing the elements, or surfing where you're playing the elements, to full-on team sports, football, baseball, basketball. Also learned that in those sports that are team sports, it's still personal. It still is about the individual, about a collective of individuals doing the best at their job each play in the context of the situation that make the greatest teams. So, that old, there ain't no I in team, but yeah, there's an M and an E. That can be taken the wrong way, but I think there's a healthy way to take that to make a collective team sport work, to have the best team, each individual has to buy in and want to be the most excellent at their particular role. So for me, I was above average. I was never great at anything. I did get down to the best I ever got at sports. I got down to 4 handicap in golf.
Wow. And
then my first 2 holes and ones were 11 days apart. And I've had 4.
Wow.
Golf, I got good enough where I thought about, this is a game I dig. I've got a knack for. I had the mentality for it. I was long, and I had a really good short game. Actually, I would say my short game, when it was good, was even more worthy than my distance off the box. But I was also a late bloomer. Meaning, let me tell you this one. Texas football. My dad played for the Packers. My 2 older brothers played. We never really had the anatomies for, to be blessed to go be a professional in football like my dad did. But I remember being really nervous one afternoon, early evening, about telling him going into the 9th grade that I didn't want to play football next year. And I was the kid who just 6 years earlier was husky and you couldn't tackle me in the backyard. John Riggins that was me, Diesel Name Desire. Well, all of a sudden, by the 8th, 7th, and 8th grade, I was no longer the huskiest and the toughest that you couldn't bring down. I was also not near as being the fastest either. So physically, there were stronger kids and faster kids at the same time than I was. And I began to notice that, man, I don't know if this is for me. And I remember sitting in my room and asking Dad to come down to my room. And I was really nervous about telling him I didn't want to play football anymore, because football, family, Dad played it. And through tears, I told him, I don't want to play football anymore, Dad. And he goes, oh, damn it. Great news. And I went, what? And he goes, do you know it's me coming to your room before I get there? And I said, yeah, I actually do. Yes, sir. And he goes, how do you know? I go, I can hear you. And he goes, what do you hear? And I go, I hear this bop, bop, bop. And he goes, yeah, I got a 4-inch plate here. I got 3 screws here. I got this over here. And I told him, I don't want to play football. I want to play golf. He goes, play golf. You can do it till you go down. He goes, that's right. Play football. But he said, if you do play football, and he did this every summer, if you do want to play football, the first day of summer, every day for the 3 months, you will be up at sunrise running hills to get in shape. So if you were going to play, there was no I'll just go play. No, you're going to do what you got to do to play it. But golf ended up being my game. And then I was average at everything else. And, I got to the highest of number 2 on the golf team, 4 handicap, but never was something that I was going to go pursue. I won the intramurals at University of Texas. So I was a solid golfer, but it was never something that I really considered, I'm going to go try that professionally.
But I love how it prepared you for so much. Just the individual golf outing has prepared you for so many auditions early on when you're trying to make it. Yeah.
Oh,
such a mental game. Well,
it's such a mental game. It's mostly the mental game. one of the things I get about golf, the best rounds I ever had were, one, when I was walking, two, when I wasn't looking at the scorecard going, well, you're one over and you got 2 holes going. If you birdie, you could get, where I wasn't thinking. The best rounds I ever had, I was walking off of 18 tee box, finished with the round, thinking I had more holes to go. And then looked at my scorecard and was like, oh, you shot 74. Wow. So what I learned about that in work is the best performances I have in my work are the last day of shooting. They say wrap, and I go, okay, everybody, thanks. I'll see you tomorrow. And they have to come tell me, no, there is no tomorrow. That's a film wrap. We have finished shooting. And I'm like, oh, we did? I didn't even know where the finish line was.
Yeah.
And I think that's I talk about it in the book, Immortal Finish Lines. When we put a finish line, like, oh, if I can just birdie one more, I got 2 holes to go. Oh, I've only got 1 more week of work. If I can really finish it, we have a tendency to choke because we put this finish line. When does the football player gonna fumble if he's not ready? When you get near the goal line. Well, be like Bo Jackson. The goal line, he ran across the goal line, through the end zone, up
in the tunnel. Yeah, that's right.
Keep going. Throw your finish line way past it. Whatever you're doing, think it's going to be longer and harder, and that you'll keep going. Play for the 5th quarter and let the coach come tell you, game's over.
Yeah.
You'll play a better game.
Yeah, it reminds me of something else you write about in the book. I'd planned to ask you, and it just fits here, so we're going to go to it. I love this thought of 1 in a row, and I'm not going to say anything else. I'm going to let you teach. Is it so good? I mean, and it fits this audience. This is a nationally syndicated radio show, and it's caller driven, and every day, Matthew, people are calling in going, Ken, I need help figuring out what I'm created to do. What am I supposed to do with my life? And we think that work here is something you're created to do. It's a contribution. It's not a utilitarian function. You don't work to live, you live to work. In other words, created to contribute. That's the whole context here. And it takes time for adults that are 35 and 40 to maybe switch gears midstream. They maybe went and got a major that they didn't want, couldn't afford, and maybe mom and dad pressured them to do that. That's the context for this idea of 1 day at a time. But this 1 in a row, when I read this the first time, I just had this big smile. It's just like truth from yesteryear. This is good stuff. Teach us with that context.
1 in a row, man. I mean, we want to get somewhere.
Yeah.
And I call it, day at a time with the big picture in mind.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the big picture. But then once you have that big picture, put your head down.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna chop that tree down. I don't know how many. Well, let's get to chopping it down. 1 swing at a time, 1 axe swing at a time, whatever that may be. Just start. Look, because what happens is, are you looking at that big picture over the horizon? That's where I really want to be. You don't do the job in front of you as well, so you build a link in your chain of where you're going. That's a weak link. And then you add it. You're looking over there again. You're too obsessed with where it is you want to go that you're not looking down at your feet. You build another weak link, and once you get there, it won't hold. You got to build each link well at 1 in a row, again and again and again. The first and last time is each time. That's it. Do that. Look up. Oh, I got a little bit higher on the rung of the ladder. Look down. Climb again. Yep, got it. Got a little further. And if we can, that's part of what I mean when I talk about the process.
Yeah.
And life being a verb. We never really, that place on the horizon that we think we want to go, it's not finite anyway.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a real spot. You don't land and go, ta-da. Because on the way of getting there, and once you get there, 1, it's either a bit more of a mirage than you thought, or 2, you've learned some things on the way to getting there that now you got a lot more places you need to go. That was not actually your final destination at all.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So let me jump in here because I think this is perfect because when you got the Oscar, I mean, you look at the total of your career getting to that point, and yes, that is the highest honor. But you personally didn't change. It was a pretty good deal, and that probably felt pretty good. But what was it like in that moment, even in the minutes after, of I've achieved the highest honor, but I'm not even close to done?
Well, it was great validation that this thing called acting that I had worked on it and become good enough at my craft
Mm-hmm.
that it translated as an art that my peers said, we deem this the most excellent work in this category this year. So it was great validation, because that's a long way from where I came when I started 25 years earlier.
Yeah.
So I felt an evolution in my craft, which felt good. It felt like, oh, I'm getting better. I'm lowering my handicap, so to speak, in my job. And it translated, which is a different thing about art and sports. That's what's beautiful about sports. Who wins the 100-yard dash? Who crosses the line first? It's measurable. There's not a discussion. Art's a different thing. It's more subjective. What is deemed the most excellent work? I'd done some work that people said, no, it's not even negotiable. That's great work. That felt good. So, you know, I did let myself enjoy that, enjoy that feeling. I didn't like go hide my Oscar and take it home that night and put it in the basement and go, I didn't win that. Now move on. I gave myself enough time to go, let's enjoy this, man.
Yes.
Took some work. Look at that thing. That means something, man. Way to go. But it, in no way did I say, oh, now I'm defined. Now I did it. It didn't feel like a destination. I did notice some funny things that, like, after I won the Oscar, I could repeat things that I said in the public eye or in an interview that I've said 20 times before, but now it was in bold print.
Yeah, of course. Right.
And people go, oh my God, that's original. That's amazing. I'm like, I've said that 20 times before.
Right. That's right. You just weren't listening.
Megaphone.
Yeah.
You know, my words would be branded instead of sort of written in pencil. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I noticed that came with some more opportunities and of influence or power or access to things. But I didn't have any I had less complacency. I was like, because here's what I did in the years leading up to winning that Oscar. For 4 years before that, after I'd taken that 2 years off from acting at all, when I got back to get the jobs I wanted to get, which were Lincoln Lawyer, Bernie Paperboy, Killer Joe, Magic Mike, Mud, True Detective, Dallas, Buyers Club, win the Oscar, I was less interested in the result than ever before. I was full on head down. I'm going for the experience. What am I going to get out of this? F the bucks, man.
Yeah. It was love of the work.
I'm putting my head down.
Yeah.
You're going to tell me when it's over. My head's so down. I'm obsessed with my work.
Yeah.
You tell me when I need to tap out, because I'm going. I'm going to keep creating until you tell me game's over. It's over. We wrapped. That's when I got more results.
That's right.
When I quit thinking about the result and just put my head down on that way you're talking about it, but the process of just the day to day.
Yeah.
Come on. Just work your way through the mind.
Well, here's what I want people to hear. I mean, you've shared this on several interviews, and if they don't know your story, when you took that 2 years off, that was you saying, hey, I'm going to take a little pause on the rom-coms here because I want to do a different type of work. It was for the love of the craft, and you were going, this is the work I want to create. And folks, I talk about this all the time on the show, that all work creates a result. And so when we do work we love, passion, that's how I define it, Matthew, to produce results that matter deeply to us, that's mission. So we use what we do best, talent, to do work we love, passion, to produce results that matter to you. This is what you're talking about. But I want people to hear this, because I think we see actors and we see Oscar winners, and obviously you're a celebrity, and we think there's all this charm in it. But what I want people to hear is you turn down millions of dollars. You know, 14 million is what it got to at one point. You turn down a script and you're going, I'm going to rebrand myself. I'm going to go do this. And there was real fear. I think I've heard you say in a couple interviews that, hey, I may not work like I used to work. I want you to describe that.
Yeah. So I'd been doing rom-coms and been very successful at them. Been doing action comedies. They were making good box office money. I was getting paid extremely handsomely. But it was a time where I was like, dramas that I was interested in doing, I couldn't even sniff them. No one was going to finance a drama. No matter how much of a pay cut I would say, I'll do it for this amount of money. I'll this much less. They'd be like, no. We're not going to make any box office on that. You're the rom-com guy. You're shirtless on the beach, rom-com guy. You're great at that. Stay in your lane. Well, when I noticed I wasn't getting offered anything that I wanted to do, I said, all right, so why don't we quit doing what we've been doing and just say no to that? And my hunch paid off was that I'll be gone long enough that hopefully I'll be a new good idea for these dramatic roles one day. But there was no guarantee. It was a one-way ticket to limbo, man, because it went on for 2 years. And trust me, those 2 years, you damn right I got wobbly. I needed purpose. I lost sense of significance. I luckily had a newborn son that we brought into the world that gave me a place to focus and put attention on daily, which was a healthy place to do so. But man, as a man, I needed to work. I needed to go to work. I felt worth less in a lot of ways. And I did not know if those roles were ever going to come back my way, or any kind of role that I wanted to do was going to come back my way. Well, after 20 months and after turning down, and again, when I turned down that offer for $14.5 million, which was a good script. And I want to tell this story here so I don't sound too puritanical, or if you think,
yeah, I love this part.
Let me give you a little context here. So I've got rom-coms coming in. I'm read them. No, read them. No, read them. No, read them. No. This one comes in with the $5 million offer. I read it. No. Comes back, same script, $8 million offer. I said, no. Comes back with a $10 million offer. No. Comes back with a $12.5 million offer. I say, ellipsis, ellipsis, ellipsis. No, thank you. Comes back at a $14.5 million offer. I say, let me read that thing again.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, same script as that original $5 million offer, but it was a better written script.
Of course it was.
14.5, it was funnier. It had more angles. I might be able to make this work. But ultimately I said, no, no. And when I said that, it did send a sort of an invisible sort of communication lightning bolt across Hollywood that said, oh, McConaughey's not bluffing. Oh, he's really not doing rom-coms. So then for 14 months go by, nothing comes in, not one offer. I call my agent every week. He goes, buddy, I have not even heard your name. But after 20 months of being gone, where's McConaughey? He hadn't been in the theater in our living room in a rom-com. We haven't seen him shirtless on the beach. Where the hell is he? All of a sudden, well, you know who'd be a good idea? A novel, interesting new idea for Lincoln Lawyer, for Killer Joe, for Paperboy, for the Matthew McConaughey. So that's when I realized, oh, what I've done in these last 20 months is unbrand, because I was no longer rom-com shirtless guy on the beach. I was, where the hell is he? He's nowhere. I gained anonymity and then became a fresh new good idea.
Wow. That's so good. Page 93 of the book, folks. I've got my sticky notes all over this thing. This is a great little quote here in the book. It says, when we know what we want to do, knowing when to do it is the hard part. Get them early so you don't have to get them as often. Prevent before the cure. Habilitate before the re. That's so good. I mean, that's great context for this. I mean, you knew what you wanted to do. You had come to that point and you're like, okay, at what point, when do I cut bait? And you decided, all right, no more. Encourage people about that, because there's conviction, I believe. And when I hear your story, I know it's conviction. That's what I'm calling it. You had a conviction. You're going, you know what? It's not the work I want to do anymore. It's not who I want to be. I think conviction fuels courage. Encourage our audience. They're looking at something, and theirs isn't switching from rom-com roles to meaty drama roles, but they're going, I know I'm not supposed to be an accountant. I know that I was created to build with my hands and restore homes or whatever it is. And they're looking at that and they're going, everybody thinks I'm a good accountant, and I'm knocking down six figures, and I've got the golf club membership, and my kids go to a good school. Everybody's going to think that I've lost my ever-loving mind if I make this switch, but that's my brain, but my heart's going, go build something. Talk to them about that, because you faced that. You stared it down.
Well, have the courage to get off to that buzz of that heartbeat.
Yeah.
Have the courage. Take ownership in the thrill ride that the world thinking you're out of your mind to do what you've done for yourself.
Yeah.
Is putting you on an island, which when we're on an island, you got two choices. You either contract and go, I'm alone, I'm fearful of this, I don't want to be, or you're like, oh yeah, it's on me. And it's solely on me. I'm the biggest underdog I've ever been right now. Now you start to get a little bit of honor. a little bit of pride, a little bit of fuel. And the days of resisting that with which you're trying to turn your away from now for the first time, each day that you resist it more, you actually start to gain a little more power and courage because you start to like being on that island.
Yep.
And you start to love that isolation, and you start to call yourself out because the world's all still going, he's out of his mind. And so you start to force to go, yeah, maybe I am. It's about in time. So you can gain courage in the endurance of saying no to that with which other people are saying, well, yeah, that's your lane. Stay in your lane. And you gain invisibly respect for that move.
Absolutely.
Because people go, I don't think I could do that. Or they go, maybe I need to do that.
That's it. I think people don't chase dreams. They get discouraged by others who don't chase their own, which this leads to another question. It's my favorite story in the book because of the relationship between you and your father. And I think this isn't the average. I think your dad was really unique. And the wind he put beneath your wings in this story, you call your dad. You've been telling him law school, you think it's the track. You call him up, you're nervous about it. Your dad is your dad. I mean, this guy's bigger than life. You tell him, Dad, I'm going to go to film school. And you're bracing. And he says,
3 of the greatest words you could have ever told me. And the way he said them with a little bit of grit in his teeth.
Yeah.
Says, well, don't half-ass it.
Yeah.
I went, oh, not only did you give me your blessing, not only did you give me approval, you gave me freedom, privilege. You gave me more than privilege. You gave me freedom. You gave me responsibility. You gave me a kick in the backside. You made me say, go toe the line. All right, we just made a verbal contract. Get it, son. And you know, that don't half-ass it is a good one that I think we could all put in our pocket for a lot of things. Just don't half-ass it. If you're going to do something, you talked about commitment earlier. Commit to it. Even, you know, I write about this in the book. Sometimes when we don't know what to do, it's best to just pick something and commit to it, and it'll reveal whether it was the right choice. Because often, and I've done it myself, I'm not sure, A or B, A or B, A or B. And I look up and 5 years later, I'm still measuring A and B. And I'm going like, I never moved. I was a paralysis of analysis by not even just choosing one and trying it out. And sometimes it's not even important the choice we make. It's just make one and commit to it and go find out. You got more time than you think. If that fails, if it doesn't work, come back. Now you know. Come back to the other one with more determination and commitment because you already proved the first way was not the way for you. Or you start off and you end up 5 years later doing something that you didn't even know you loved to do, but you wouldn't have found out unless you committed down that path that looked to be the wrong path. It's true that way. Sometimes, you know, and when I said earlier about knowing what we want to do can be easy, when to do it, when to pull the trigger is the hard part. That's also true. I mean, I think it's an art of both, but I think for this conversation, many of us get hung up in the limbo of, I don't know what to do, and I'm going to half-ass it if I try. Let me dabble over here. Let me dabble over there. And we got these little campfires lit in our life, but we don't have any Valhalla bonfires.
Yes.
And so lighting the campfires and pick something out and just say, I'm investing in that. I'm chunking wood on that fire. Let's go see what happens. I dare you.
Yeah. What I love that your dad did, and a lot of parents don't do this, and I'm not beating up on parents because I've got 3 kids, 3 teenagers. And you know, we as parents, we want what's best for our kids and we try to protect them from something. He takes your suggestion and he simply goes, all right, go for it. Give it everything you got. And he has the courage to let you do it. And it speaks to the importance of having people in your life that if you get some friends and family who say, I don't know if that's a good move, Matthew. I don't know. It's a little risky. I don't know if you can make any money in that. It's really tough. You got to have some other people you can go to who go, you know what? Go for it.
Well, here's the deal on that. And I think this goes for parents, but I also think it goes for the world of business. Let's just say for right now, the United States. We're all parents raise their children. We raise our children. Here's the sidelines, guys. Stay within the lines, learn this, learn to block and tackle. You just work your way up the ladder, evolve a little bit. And if you stay in there, you got a good chance of succeeding to some extent. America, regulations, business, rules, governments, laws. No, stay in the lines. There's what you got to do. That moment when I called my father and said I want to go to film school instead of law school, that was the moment that I think every parent really wants to hear their kid say and do. I'm breaking out. I'm going my own way. I'm not asking you permission, Dad, even though I'm asking for your blessing. He heard that in my voice, that I was not wavering. I was not bluffing, that I was asking him, but I really wasn't asking permission. And when he heard that in my voice, in the way that he goes, you sure that's what you want to do? How quickly I said, yes, sir. If I'd have paused and gone, he wouldn't have told me the same reaction, don't half-ass it. He'd have heard me wobbling, but he heard that I was coming up. I wasn't bluffing. I wasn't asking permission, which he heard that in his son's voice. And inside, I think he was going like, yes, now that's my boy. Now I know I did well enough to raise him in a structure that he has the confidence to say, I'm going my own way. Steve Jobs creates the iPhone, private sector. Government, whoa, you can't do that. Hey, watch it. He wasn't asking permission. He goes off. He does it. It works. It becomes a valuable tool in society. All of a sudden, once you do it, the world goes, bravo. That's what we were looking for, a renegade, to go your own way. But the thing is, as a child or an entrepreneur, if you are ready to break out of the so-called structure, you better not be bluffing.
Yes.
Because the world will put you right back in line if you're bluffing. So don't be coming asking permission when it's time to go your own way, and don't be bluffing.
Yes.
And commit,
I love it. We're about 4 years apart in age, and I remember the first time I became aware of you as an actor. I'm a big Grisham fan. And I remember taking my wife, Stacy, to see A Time to Kill. Did not know who you were. I was like, who's this young guy? He looks like he's about my age. And this is pretty cool. I love Grisham, so I'm in. And obviously that movie really put you on the map. And the story you share in the book, which I think is one of the greatest teaching stories in the book, in my opinion, is you show up for the audition. There's so much goodness in it. What his mom says to him the day he goes in, but I'm running short on time. But you just got to read it, folks. It's unbelievable. Matthew's mom is a treasure. But you nail the scene. You nail it. And Joel Schumacher, legendary director, says to you, and I'm paraphrasing, he says to you, all right, good job, but now I want you to do that like you were actually making the closing argument. And as you kind of tell it in the book, you're kind of like, okay, I got to gather myself. And the way you kind of tell it is you just got in this zone and you knew the lines, you knew the story, but then you did it as you. And the reason I'm asking you to share this and the powerful lesson that I think Schumacher was teaching you and all of us is we all suffer from this imposter syndrome from time to time. And I just believe God created us all just a little bit unique enough to offer something special to the world. I think Schumacher was going, do it your way. Teach us from that. What was he doing there?
Well, so I go in to read the final summation. That was my screen test to try and get the job. And as you said, I did what was scripted, and I did it well. Was it magical? No, but it was good, solid. He goes, good job. Now chunk the script away, forget the words. What would Matthew say? And I got into a zone, thought about, I wasn't a father yet, but thought about what if that was my daughter, what if that was my sister, what if that was my mom. And then I just started saying things that no lawyer would say. I was cussing and drawing vivid pictures verbally that wouldn't be allowed in court. But it got me to a place emotionally that he saw what it meant to me, how I'd feel if as a father, that was my daughter. How would you feel? That was your daughter if she was white, he saw how I felt. So I got there. That's what he wanted to really see is I don't need you to connect the dots with what's on the page. I want to see who you are, what kind of young man you are, how you feel about life, how you think about feel about the loss of life, someone's wrongful loss of their own virginity. So he saw my heart come out. It was like, get rid of the head. It was like it was my heart coming out, how I felt about it. And as I said, everything I said wouldn't have been allowed in court, but he saw, that's when he goes, if I remember correctly, he stopped me in the middle. Like, that's enough, cut, that's enough. And I was sweating and snarling and in it. I could have kept going for another 30 minutes. And he goes, great, no more. That's what I need to see.
Wow.
And he showed that to John Grisham and his wife. And that's what got me the role. And another thing Joel Schumacher did, this is my first lead role. All right, I'm, as they say, not carrying the movie, but I'm the lead. I mean, if my role doesn't work, the movie doesn't work. I'm the lead. Every single time I might start getting a little bit heady about, well, I don't know about it. He'd just come over and put two hands on my shoulders and go, Matthew, you are Jake. That's why I cast you. You're Jake. It was the best direction a director could have given a young man in my position at that time. Don't think about trying to be anybody else. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about it? That's why I hired you for a reason. And I've heard that consistently from some of the better directors I've worked with, that, you know, I've learned how my craft a lot more than I knew then. But, you know, a lot of the really best directors will say, hey, you got a question or you don't think this is right. I hired you for a reason. What do you want to do? It's great. It's great empowerment. You know, and
unbelievable.
Being on an island again, it puts it on you, and as an actor, you have to take ownership of it. Oh, I am on an island. They did hire me for a reason. I am this role. I am this guy. It's time. I am the author. It's no longer the screenwriter's script. It's no longer John Grisham's book. It's not even Joel Schumacher's movie. It's he's directed. But this scene, my man, is mine. Let's go.
I love it. So
and that right there is a good one to take into, but I think we can all give ourselves a kick in the butt to ask ourselves that more in who we are in life.
Oh, yeah. That's what I took from it is reminded that I've got to be me. I can't be a knockoff version of somebody else. And I've got to deliver what I'm supposed to deliver.
If each one of us are more us, ourselves,
yeah,
then there's only one.
That's the beauty. Yeah, I love it. It gave me chills when I read it because, you know, you love movies and you love behind the scenes anyway, but that was the screen test or the audition or whatever. I just love that. I want to talk about something that's really important to you, and it's always been one of the things I've, you know, when you get to, you think you know these people and we don't know you other than what you let us in. And what we learn about celebrities and actors and people like you are what you do when you're not on the screen. And I remember probably one of the most influential movies in my life, Dead Poet Society, and I'll never forget that. One of those early scenes, you know, and Robin Williams, as Professor Keating's got those boys up against the trophies, that, you know, and he's showing them all these things, and he gets them all to lean in, you know, and he comes up behind him and he says, "Carpe diem," you know, and he kind of whispers "Carpe diem," you know, and this mysterious thing. And these guys are like, this guy's lost his mind, and you know, he kind of popularized that phrase, "Seize the day, carpe diem," and he kind of made it like this pop culture thing. And you started a foundation that really came from a phrase, and it's just keep living, no G, and it has a lot of, you know, personal significance. And I wanted you to talk about that because I love what the foundation is about, but I also think the thought really falls in line with this idea of seizing every day, and no matter what comes at you, just keep living.
Well, at the end of it, we can hem and haw all we want, but at the end of it, what's the alternative? What else is there to do? If this is the show we're in, this thing called light and our lot in it, what else is there to do at the end of it? And that's all we can really do. You know, does that mean go be an extrovert all times? Seek green lights out everywhere, just go, go, go? No, not necessarily. Maybe that means that, you know, I write about this, Autobahns and dirt roads and Autobahns. And for the take the road less traveled, it's based off of that Robert Frost poem. Well, the road less traveled is not always the one lane little dirt trail. For that person who is maybe an agoraphobic or someone who don't want to leave the house, maybe the road less traveled for them is the Autobahn, to go across the street and actually go get the mail or go down the street to the community store. That is, that's the road less traveled for them. And then you've got somebody who maybe is very popular and extroverted and is the life of the party. Well, maybe their road less traveled is to go read a damn book. So yes, do take the road less traveled, but one that's not always the dirt road for everybody. So, going forward, it seems like it's both. Just keep living. There's a just keep living choice at every intersection of choices we have in our life. And at this very base level, you could say, what is the most life affirmative choice? That does not, as I said, it doesn't mean going out and being an extrovert every day. Sometimes me for just keep living means, hey, I need to go home and spend some time petting my damn dogs. I need some introspection. I've been flying, man. I've been embracing everything. I need to go have some introspective time. I need to go away on my own. Other times I'm writing a book. I'm loving the writing experience so much and loving the solitude. I don't even want to talk to anybody. I need to go out and engage with some people more than I have been. But there's a just keep living choice at every intersection, which you could say, what is the most life affirming choice? And there's a place where it's most life affirming for ourselves, selfishly, and for the most amount of others, selflessly. Think about what are the choices we make that are going to give us more ROI, more residuals in our life. We engineer our green lights. We engineer our futures. And we have our hands on the wheel, and that doesn't handle everything. Sometimes we're done unto, but I think we got to give ourselves more credit about how self-determining individuals that we actually are, and that take a thought before you do something that you're not sure of. Hop out of yourself 5 years from now, 10 years from now, and ask yourself 10 years from now, what am I going to think about this choice that I'm making now? Am I going to be happy with this choice? Am I going to, invest more in delayed gratification? The choice now that will give you more freedom tomorrow. The responsibility taken today that can give you more freedom tomorrow. Those are just keep living choices. Yeah. And what are the ones, that are legacy choices? What are the choices we can make that are not only going to shine a solar powered green light in our future in this life, but for our kids and their kids and their kids? How far forward can we project? And it's a good practice, I believe, for all of us to try as much as we can.
Yeah. It's so good. I'm going to let you go, but I've got to ask, when you read this book, you've been doing a ton of interviews. I'm so grateful for your time. It just makes me wonder, is this book and the thoughts and this kind of different offering that we're seeing of Matthew McConaughey, is it greenlighting a different perspective, a different avenue for you in the future? You're still a young man.
I think it is. I think it's opening up, new avenues for me. One of the reasons I wanted to write this book is because, look, as an actor, I go in, I do someone else's script, directed by someone else, lensed through a camera by someone else, and edited by someone else. So there's 4 filters from my raw expression before it gets to you on a screen. The book is 1 filter. I'm directing it. I edit it. It's my stories. It's on a page, though, so you're reading it. This live is no filters. You know what I mean? Stand up, for instance, is no filters. A leadership role in the future for me, which I am interested in, is no filters. That's what character am I going to be in the big show? The one we're all in called Life. That's the character I'm more interested in now, going, you don't need to go be in front of a camera and get it recorded. The hands of time are recording it. Who are we live today where the cameras started rolling for you November the 4th, 1969, Matthew, and it'll stop rolling and cut will be called The Day You Die. I think that's the avenues that I'm looking at now, and the character that I'm looking at playing, in one that would be, I would say, hopefully more myself than any character I played. And go play it in life.
I want to affirm you and encourage you. I think you've got a spirit. I love your work. Always have. You always seem like the dude that, the one actor on screen that you might want to hang out with actually on the golf course and have a stogie and a beer. But I love your spirit more, and I think that's coming out in all these interviews. And as this book has been written, it's really beautiful. One fun thing I got to tell you, I would be remiss. I've got to give my wife a hard time. We've been married almost 23 years, and the totality of our marriage, she has always called you Matthew McConaughey. So there you go. Matthew McConaughey. Hey. So Mrs. Coleman, yeah, she's a big fan, and I am as well. The book is Green Lights. There's so much in it. It's really encouraging. This is not your celebrity biography. There's so much grit and glory. And again, it's a love story for life, as you say in the book, a love letter to life, rather. Matthew, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I know you got a million things to be doing. I know the dog needs some attention, and so I got to let you go on that. But thanks, man, for hanging with us.
Absolutely. I appreciate it anytime, and I look forward to the next time.
All right, brother.
Appreciate it.